Welcome to another edition of Black Press USA and NNPA's FIRE program. I'm your host, Taylor Thomas. So you were looking just now, the video that you were seeing is the grand opening of a very exciting museum, a hip hop museum in the nation's capital. And joining us right now are two of the reasons why it really has become a reality for the people here on the East Coast. So we have Jeremy Beaver, also known as DJ Boom. He's the founder of DC's Hip Hop Museum. And I know you know that face next to him. That is Master G. That's right. Founder of the Sugar Hill Gang and multi-platinum recording artist, joining us tonight here on Fire for NNPA and Black Press USA. Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Hey.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate you.
Yeah, we do. Thank you.
So you guys are really, really close. How long have y'all known each other?
Well, it really kind of started, it predates the museum.
Yes.
So Master G and I met each other because he was embarking on a new podcast.
Yes.
And I forget who introduced
it. Was like the doctor. She was a doctor and she was doing a show.
Oh, you're right.
Right.
And I don't remember.
And somebody turned me on to her.
Yeah.
And she turned me on to you.
Me.
And then we came in.
And I couldn't believe it because growing up, I'm from New York, Brooklyn, New York. And so, born in 76, I grew up. Rapper's Delight has like a special place in everyone's heart, but especially in my heart. So when I found out that he was local in this area, I jumped on the opportunity to try to work with that podcast.
And that's really what, that time that we spent, in the studio, developing the show, creating the content, and then finding out about one another, we realized that we had great synergy and that we had a real necessity to go beyond, what we've known about each other and what we were doing at that point. And then the conversation started coming up. Jeremy started talking to me about the museum.
Yeah.
Now, Master G, this podcast is something really, really new, right? Not new, but it's definitely something different than when you first entered the entertainment industry. So what's your focus for your podcast?
Well, we talk about everything from taco to taxes, and, and you have to remember, I started making live recordings and touring and television appearances, etc., since in 1979, and I'm 40 something years into this music career of mine. And so there's a lot of history that's discussed in the show. There's a lot of, good positive anecdotes, funny stories, and we talk to some of the coolest people in the world. So it's a reinvention of our invention.
Speaking of reinvention, there seems to be a surge over the last 3 to 5 years for wanting to go old school and bring them back. And it's so amazing to see people look so healthy that we grew up with and performing on the stage and just giving us the same energy and literally taking us back mentally when we first saw them perform or hearing them. So I'm wondering if that's a little bit of the motivation in regards to bringing a DC hip hop museum here. I know T.I. opened one in Atlanta and I was like, when are we going to get something like that? And then here goes Beaver making it happen here.
There we go. Well, the thing is funny you said that because, Sugar Hill have been touring internationally strong since 2016.
What?
And a lot of it has to do with the fact that the world definitely loves Sugar Hill music. They like the performance aspect of it. They like the genuineness of it. They like the effort that's put into it. And like you said, you have a lot of people that when they see their people that they grew up with, I meet people in Germany. I meet people in Switzerland that they came to a show in the 80s and they come into a show now in, the 2020s. And it's an amazing experience. And that has a lot to do with why I even wanted to be a part of it, as going into it, because now I'm the executive director of the museum as well. I really feel like it's necessary to preserve our legacy, even as new as it is. We're still 40 plus years into our music. We're one of the newest forms of music in the world, believe it or not.
So Master G was saying that, everyone gives you credit for really starting this off, right? And getting the world, the US seeing the talent in this creative genre that has really gone into every genre of music now. And I think, Jeremy Beaver, we were talking about this before we went live. What are the concerns, if any, that you have, because the music's gone from one thing, kind of, happiness, fun, to a whole different thing now?
Well, it's not necessarily a concern because our music reflects the people that express it.
Okay.
So when I first started making records, I grew up in the New York metropolitan area. I came up in a pretty good, background. So, things I talked about were things that I was into. I wanted to date girls. I wanted to, travel. I wanted to be known. I wanted to have a history. I had to make sure that I made my parents proud of me, so that was my reality. And then as the music started traveling, when you go to the West Coast and, they get it in Compton, they didn't have the same situation that I had. So they talked about what they knew. Same thing happened in Atlanta. 90% of the time, this music comes from a poverty-stricken background, and then an individual evolves. So that's what you hear. You hear the beginning, the middle, and then you hear the end or the success of that individual through the music.
So, Master G, I know everyone knows the Sugar Hill Gang, but I don't know if they know how much about you. So tell us a little bit about your growing up, because then I want to tie in what you just talked about, people telling their story, and how it ties into Jeremy, because most people would think of, well, how does this connect with you? What do you pull from this that makes you love the music? And I know everyone loves hip hop. Well, most people. So, Jeremy, Master G, tell me your background, your childhood.
Well, I grew up in the northern New Jersey area. I was born in Manhattan. My folks back in those days, when your folks made a little bit of money, they either went to Long Island or they went to Jersey. And my people were in the Brooklyn area, so we came to Jersey. And I grew up. I played drums from the age of 7. My dad was a recording engineer, trumpet player. He was a pilot. So I grew up flying planes, and I was in a band. Everybody in my day, we were in a band. Then I got turned on to DJing as a way of making a little extra money. So I started doing that, trying to go through high school, figuring out what I was going to do with my life. And I ran into a guy that was doing another party. He told me about rapping, and then, I put that into the equation. And, my child was, again, basically just trying to find myself, discover what I wanted to do, who I wanted to be, what kind of life I wanted to live. And then right around that time, at the age of 17 years old, I ended up, meeting Sylvia in front of the Pizza Parlor in Englewood, New Jersey. Shout out to Englewood. And basically the rest is history. Here we are. I had no clue. People ask me all the time, when I was sitting in that studio and, going through my thing and rocking the mic and watching everybody in the booth go crazy. I had no idea that I would be, in the corporate world and, the executive director of museums and, involved in, properties and all these different things. I was, like I said, I was literally trying to figure out how I was going to make it through the 12th grade.
Wow. And then it just changed overnight for you, would you say?
Oh, yeah. Within the first 2 months of my senior year, I was touring the world.
Senior year?
Yeah. So I cut the record between the age of, I cut it between the summer of junior year and senior year in high school. And
wow.
So I cut the record, went back to school that first couple of weeks in September. By the end of September, I was touring. And by the end of that year, I was in Germany, and we were everywhere. And it's been that way pretty much ever since.
So what was it like? Come on, tell me, what was it like going back to your school for a little bit and then realizing, oh my goodness, this is a superstar right here in our backyard?
Well, you have to understand that hip hop was so new then that people really didn't understand the power of it. So it was mainly like the generation, like my generation, my peers, that kind of thing. It was popular in that respect. It didn't really happen until I got on Soul Train. So by the time I made it to Soul Train,
wow.
That's when I was legitimately considered, the Jackson 5 of our time, or, the
wow.
Ohio Players, or what, because all of your legitimate, R&B, stars or recording artists, they did Soul Train, American Bandstand, and another show
right.
called Solid Gold. And when we did Soul Train, that's kind of what did it. So it was by the time we had another record. We have another record that's big for us called Eighth Wonder. And so we had Eighth Wonder out. And at that point, that's when I kind of knew that this was my destiny, and that I was good at what I was doing.
So how soon were you able to really kind of take care of the family or give a gift to the family?
Oh gosh, right away. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, very quickly. Yeah, I bought my dad a car early on. He wanted a Honda Accord.
No, you remember
1980, 81, 82, because Honda had just started selling cars in America at that time.
Oh my gosh.
And my dad was in love with the Honda Accord, the 4-door
No
Honda
way.
Accord.
No way.
Could have had anything.
He could have picked anything, but
that is
son,
so
I
neat.
want this car. No problem, Dad. And so yeah,
So
that was my first.
is that when they realized my son? Oh, okay. Obviously, if you're on Soul Train, he understands the magnitude of this. But I'm sure they're like, it's just music. What can these kids do, right?
My dad was very. He recorded jazz musicians.
Okay.
Don Cherry, Reggie Workman, Max Roach. He recorded a lot of those musicians. So he was very, very, very involved in music. So he also understood, that we had something and that it was continually growing and it was becoming very, very, very popular.
Now, Jeremy, you've had a love for music. I guess you can say ever since you were little. Where did hip hop come into your life, and how did it change you that you're doing what you're doing now to pay homage to all the legends?
Yeah, good question. So I growing up myself in New York, late 70s, 80s, hip hop was everywhere. You couldn't really kind of go to New York or especially live in New York and not be just massively affected by hip hop. And so hip hop was the lens through which I have viewed the world since I was very, very young. And the weirdest part about all of it is kind of coming full circle with Master G, because his Rapper's Delight, more than any other song, and not just for me, but for most people, Rapper's Delight was the reason why they fell in love with and listened to hip hop. And so I went to college here in Washington, D.C., and then I ended up going into
right?
I went to GW, George Washington University, and I got really heavily into DJing. And my DJ career and mixtape career led to a career in broadcast radio, National Public Radio, and I was the director of production at XM Satellite Radio. And after that, I ended up starting my own company, which is called Listen Vision Studios, still in business today. In fact, we're sitting right now in our art gallery, which is within Listen Vision Studios, the House of Hip Hop. And so as a result of just like producing and engineering and DJing for what felt like my entire professional career, I don't know. Maybe I just had like a little midlife crisis there. My wife would say, yeah, big midlife crisis. And I'm not going to lie, I was doing pretty well in business and in my investments. And I thought that I should start a project of passion. And it started with a $12 Biggie Smalls doll.
Wait. I didn't even know that there was a Biggie Smalls doll. Please say you have it somewhere I can see it right now.
We have many. Actually, we're surrounded by them.
Oh my goodness.
Right now.
Yeah, so much cool stuff in here.
But this was like in 2016.
Okay.
So in 2016, I bought this doll. And I thought he needed a friend. The $12 Biggie needed a friend. So I went online to find him a little Tupac to sit next to him. And the next, because who else should sit next to Biggie?
Of course.
And I couldn't believe it. The Tupac doll was $1,000, and so was the Biggie. And I was like, wait.
And this was back in 2016. Okay, I'm just trying to.
These are just little dolls that were like made in 2007, I think. But they were like massively valuable, and I didn't understand what I was even looking at, and I went down this rabbit hole like some sort of OCD freak of just like, I was like, well, wait. I started researching, and I thought, well, I could just start collecting, and I could actually in just a year or two become have the largest collection. And that's actually what I did. So between donations and acquisitions and Sotheby's auctions and other auctions around the country and around the world, we in 2 years time, from 2017 to 2019, created the world's largest collection of hip hop artifacts and memorabilia. And then that it got kind of out of control and out of hand. And we started seeing like a bigger picture, like a bigger responsibility as Americans and as music lovers. Hip hop is America's largest export. It's a multi-trillion-dollar global industry that's culturally affected every country in the world and every citizen in the world. And so we were like, all right, well, let's be the world's first hip hop museum. And there were other acts, trying to do it.
Yes.
But we thought, no, we're gonna do it, and we already had our own native collection, and we did it.
Yes.
And we inducted Master G at our grand opening.
Yes.
Sugar Hill Gang performing was the highlight. Performing Rappers Delight specifically was the highlight of the evening because it was the 40th anniversary of the song.
Right.
Goodness.
We even righted kind of like a 40-year wrong by having Grandmaster Caz perform the lyrics that he had actually written that, Big Hank had performed. So it was very special. Trouble Funk was inducted. Many other folks were inducted that night, a long list that I won't even go into. But we've now reached over 40 or 45 inductions in just 2 years' time. We're the leading organization in the world, maybe the only organization in the world, paying tribute and honoring all of these icons and legends. And we have this amazing collection that we're able to tour. And so we were able to go in our first year to like Milwaukee's government sanctioned hip hop week out in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
What?
Yeah,
Milwaukee? Come on.
We brought the whole collection out there, and we
Yes.
did a concert with Mystical and Scarface and Bun B, Do or Die, and it was insane. And Devin the Dude, it was Megan the Stallion, Kevin Gates. It was insane. And that was really great. And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
So we did over 160,000 patrons in our first year. We did, multiple cities. COVID hit, and we're all just scratching our head. We're all getting right. Talk about taking the wind out of our sails.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna lie, hip hop burns deep in us, and with a guy like Master G at the helm, it makes us feel a larger responsibility because his legacy is part of this. And so what we did is we quickly opened up a permanent art gallery called the House of Hip Hop during COVID.
Yeah.
And we actually did a few inductions. We inducted Master Ace. We inducted Disco B from Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. We did a virtual induction at 1520 Sedgwick Avenue in the Rec Room where hip hop was actually born.
Yes.
And we just muddled through, but we seem to feel like we're at the other side. And now on October 8th, we get to induct Rakim, Kool Mo D,
What?
Deep Rock, Nice and Smooth.
Booyah.
Wait a minute.
Hey.
Okay, so I have already decided I'm going to be a live reporter there on that day.
Oh, you elected yourself.
Absolutely. I'm going to have to live stream on that day. Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
So and that might have been kind of a long-winded way to say that the purpose that hip hop gives us at the museum is something that is important to us personally,
Yes.
and also to all Americans, so that we can share this education and preservation with the next generation and the next generation and the next generation.
So, Jeremy and Master G, so when people go to your museum here in the District of Columbia, is that what you want them to walk away with? I mean, obviously, some people that are going there are aficionados like you guys. You guys know the ins and outs and everything, but you do want people to learn, and there's ways they can learn by either reading or seeing it, because that video showed the original flyers. So can you explain a little bit about that? There's a whole wall.
Yeah.
Sure. So actually, you can see behind us, you see this little, so this is Biggie Smalls Platinum Plaque, donated by my friend, rest in peace, Chucky Thompson, who will be famously inducted on October 8th. This is the song he produced for Biggie Smalls, Big Papa.
Yeah.
Okay. And just like when we had the flyers here in the gallery, we have these little placards. See this little QR code right there?
Right.
And so it doesn't just talk about the plaque, but it also, you can scan it and listen and watch a unique, never before seen video about the making of Big Papa, or the making of De La Soul's first album, 3 Feet Rising.
I remember De La Soul.
So yeah, so it's like it's really neat. We have a very, because of COVID, right? We had to kind of pivot our company here We've
Okay.
always had the offices for the Hip Hop Museum here,
Mhm.
but now we've opened our art gallery here. So if folks come and visit the art gallery, it's only just displaying a section of the collection, right? So right now we have all of our gold, platinum, and diamond awards displayed, right? But maybe next month we'll have our sneaker collection displayed. Month after that, we might have our posters or jackets, or I mean, we have an insanely large collection. So I always think it's best to not only come to the House of Hip Hop Art Gallery when you're in DC, but engage with our events, because our events is where you can literally see and shake hands with these icons who we grew up just loving and inspiring us and getting us through maybe some difficult times.
Yes,
Sure.
absolutely. It's definitely geared for the every man and every woman, you know, because of the fact that so much of our generation of this music is still being discovered. What we want to do is we want to make it as comfortable and as accessible as possible on a day-to-day basis.
So I have to ask you, because my phone is vibrating off the hook, and the question is, where are you guys located? And the second thing that came to mind to me after they asked that question was, how can they follow you to find out what the next art display is going to be?
Sure. Well, the exact address is 2622 Georgia Avenue Northwest, Washington, D.C. And that happens to be the exact entrance of Howard University.
Right across the street.
Like literally to our left is the
Howard.
football stadium
Yes.
and the business school.
Howard.
So
You know how often I drive past that street?
You passed
Oh,
this.
this is exciting. Give the address again, and then how can they follow you on social media to find out what you're doing, who you're interviewing, and what you're working on?
yeah, so that's 2622 Georgia Avenue, Northwest Washington, D.C. Our social media is at Hip Hop Museum DC. But if you really want to get involved, go to our website, which is hiphopmuseumdc.org. Again, that's hiphopmuseumdc.org. You can get tickets for the induction ceremony. You can get tickets for the art gallery. You can shop around in our hip hop shop, because we also sell a lot of the ephemera
Cool.
and
What?
memorabilia
Yes.
that we have doubles of
Yes.
and multiple copies of. So yeah, people can start their own collections by going to our website.
Yep. And
So
you can
Master G and Jeremy, what are you finding that people either ask you or they want to purchase?
sneakers.
He just went home with a pair
Sneakers.
earlier today.
Oh, I got a pair of sneakers today. They are so fire. New Balance. You know how.
Yes, but
fire New
so
Balance
what? Wait a minute. Is there somebody on the sneaker? Did somebody wear the sneaker? Tell me, I'm not a
Me.
shoehead like
Master
that.
G. I wore 'em. Yes.
Wait, you bought your own shoes?
No.
DC's being silly. We have a huge collection
No.
of sneakers and
yeah.
posters and
No,
stuff.
Jeremy, I got a pair of sneakers. So now I've actually wore the sneakers earlier today. So now those sneakers literally could be put in the museum.
It's fact.
It's kind of weird. I know.
Just sign them, and now it's memorabilia.
I always feel crazy when I say stuff like that. But actually, I did wear the sneakers. So somebody might be interested, and you know what I mean? So that's the kind of cool things that we have.
Yeah.
And so I do know, I did another show with a sneaker collector, and you've got to be real careful. You got to make sure there's no scuffs. And am I correct? The laces and all that's important, because that determines the value of it. And of course, who wore it, Master G, right?
Well, I mean, I'm a meticulous person anyway. So trust and believe those sneakers are in great shape, and they will be.
Okay, so Jeremy, I have to ask you, are you a sneakerhead too?
Yeah, I have a really disturbing obsession with sneakers, and the more disturbing obsession is really kind of that I now have to buy two pairs, so one to collect and not wear, and then one to wear. And now the wife has like really serious concerns about my.
I was going to ask you about her.
Yeah, she's very patient. I gotta say, not a normal woman. I think I would have been long divorced with any other person, but no. Shout out my wife, Dr. Victoria Tran, an amazing chiropractor and an amazing chef. Also, I gotta put that out there.
Wow, that's an interesting combination there.
Trust me, I'm a lucky guy. My back is good. I'm well fed.
Well, Master G and Jeremy,
Yes.
you guys are here in the nation's capital. And when you think of DC, you think of Gogo. We were talking off mic before we started the show, and you were like, wait, Taylor, there is a strong link between hip hop and Gogo. Let's talk about it.
Absolutely. Well, you have to understand that Gogo is, again, the voice of the people. You know, it's created as energy. You know, that music is energy, and it's generated by the way people feel the beat. You know, and rap music is exactly the same thing. You know, beats are created by how you feel. Lyrics are created by what you think. So the combination of go-go and hip hop it goes hand in hand. And then, you know, during the time that Sugar Hill, you know, was a viable situation, Trouble Funk literally came to Sugar Hill and we toured. I toured with Trouble Funk in the early 80s all over the United States.
A lot of people actually don't know that Trouble Funk was actually signed to Sugar Hill Records.
Yeah.
And if you go get Drop the Bomb,
that's a Sugar Hill record.
You know, you will see that that's a Sugar Hill
record. It's on
the
Sugar Hill label, yeah.
Yep.
Drop the Bomb is on the Sugar Hill label. Yeah. Came out on Sugar Hill Records.
And that's where that pump, 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 pump me up comes from.
Yes.
Which not only has been sampled a million times, scratched a million times, but also, I mean, earliest version would be like Melly Mel did like an entire song over it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Right. Yeah. So, it actually, we have the picture disc to it, which is why I know that. But their songs have really become part of the fabric.
Yeah.
Criminal Minded, KRS-One, contains a direct sample from Trouble Funk. I can list a long list, but, you know, if you listen to any early Salt and Pepper, any early Kid and Play, and many other groups, but I'm just naming a couple big ones. They contain a lot of go-go samples, and the producer, for instance, Herbie Lovebug, you know, loved to use go-go samples amongst many other producers because, you know, it's either that or funk. I mean, there's only so many things that was being kind of sampled because, you know, sampling was so new itself.
Right. The other thing, too, is that go-go is a great time measurement to rap over. The flow is very, very hypnotic and very exciting to create words and music over.
Actually, that's really true. When you talk about the pocket beat ranges from about high 68 BPMs to about the mid 85 range. And if you look at hip hop maintains that same range. It might not have as many dopa, you know, congos in there. But the beat is a similar tempo.
Yes.
So that's a very good.
Thank you.
What did you come out with the first?
I see why you guys are great friends.
Ever or something? What the hell?
What did you expect?
I see why you guys are great friends. I see the synergy and the love that you have, not only for the music, but for the
We're like best friends. It's really the most amazing thing that not only has hip hop brought us together, but hip hop is giving us new life in our careers.
Yes.
I'll just put it out there that Master G is involved in like a million different things, from voiceovers to podcasts to TV to fitness. Yeah, it's like a lot of stuff. Like, so his whole career, he kind of gets to relive all over again in a totally new way, right?
Yes.
Because, and just so you know, we don't call it old school, we call it classic.
It's classic.
Because they don't say old school rock and roll,
no.
you know?
No,
and we're still listening to Zeppelin and the Stones, and
Yes.
they're like 112 years old. So we think this type of hip hop is classic hip hop.
Yes.
And the stuff from the early 80s through the 90s we call the golden era.
Yes.
In the same way that you would call, you know, the probably the early 60s to the early 70s
Stones
of jazz or hip or rock and roll, right?
Yes.
Also a classic era. So, yeah, you know, just different terms, but no old school, because we don't like ageism.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that, because I always classic is what I think of anyway. So absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think it may be a play on words in people looking to kind of be creative, but I definitely can see the classic. So October 8th, you're inducting who again?
Rock him. Kumo D. Kid Capri. Pete Rock.
Pete Rock.
Nice and smooth. And we just got word. Grandmaster Flash will be attending, and we will be announcing that he is our next inductee.
Yes, and I'm going to be there. I've invited myself. I've invited myself. I'm letting my viewers know we're going to be streamed. I'm going to have my camera. We're going to be going live. You're going to see this and why you need to support them. Now, I have to ask you, is there a cost to actually go into the museum? Do you ask for donations?
So if you want to go to our art gallery, we call it the art gallery because I feel like the museum's full experience is not represented here, but it's an amazing exhibition. You can just go to our website, hiphopmuseumdc.org. And you can get tickets. I think it's like $15. It's super cheap.
Yeah.
And then we'll not only give you a tour, but we'll also show you the interactive tour, and you'll get to purchase and see all sorts of really rare and unique memorabilia that can be yours, because a lot of this stuff is accruing value faster than cryptocurrency or stocks. And we
Now that's your thing, right? Cryptocurrency, right? You were in that and made a killing.
Guilty as charged, but I've decided not to talk about it much.
I figured I'd bring it up
For reasons of
let it live.
So
on the low.
But yeah, no. So come to the gallery anytime you want. We're open 7 days a week, 12 to 8. You can get tickets on our website. But the October 8th thing is almost sold out. So if you want
is crazy.
you do really immediately
You need to go and get them
online.
now. Yeah.
So Jeremy, we know that we have a couple of pictures. I'm not going to pull them up yet, but I want you to right now visually or orally tell us what the museum's like, and then I'm going to bring up some pictures, and I want you to tell me what we're looking at. So we walk through the front door. Tell us what we're going to see, and then I'll bring the pictures up afterwards.
Sure. So if you go to our art gallery, you will immediately walk in and be met with approximately $12.5 million worth of gold, platinum, and diamond hip hop RIAA awards. It's the largest collection of RIAA hip hop awards ever assembled. But if you went to our museum experience, like a pop-up experience, you would see over 100 shadow boxes of the biggest groups and icons of hip hop of all time. Artifacts like the Death Row Records electric chair, artifacts like a custom leather one-of-one Suge Knight jacket he had made for Snoop Dogg, a brick to Eminem's childhood home in 8 Mile, a signed boxing glove from LL Cool J's Mama Said Knock You Out.
Yes.
And just many more things. But
the list goes on.
Yeah, that's the difference between our big experiences, right, and our induction ceremonies and our art gallery. You know, one is a more smaller, private experience that gives you access to our hip hop shop and to really rare memorabilia and plaques in this case. And the other one gives you performances and induction ceremonies and a huge giant exhibit, the likes of which nobody has ever seen ever, except at our pop-ups.
This seems like something that I think would be a benefit to school districts to set up something to take their kids through it. I mean, it's one thing to listen to the music, but I think it's another thing to really, as you both said, Master G and Jeremy Beaver, to understand the culture, understand where it came from, and actually how your home base of DC, Maryland, Virginia is where you are now and grew up, how it all intertwines. I think sometimes you just see the end product and you don't know what it took to get there and stay there, right?
Yes. I mean, I agree wholeheartedly that, again, the main purpose of what we're doing is to protect the legacy of something that will sustain for many years to come. We want to well document it early on because it wasn't as much audio as it eventually became. It's very important now to get that information out into the masses, especially the younger generations, because that's how you're going to get your next generation Tupac, your next generation Biggie, your next generation KRS-One. These are the individuals that are going to be affected by this. So that's the other thing we're working to do is find those individuals who are going to be the next great movement.
So Jeremy, since you've been keeping this at home, and I'm sure your wife is like, thank you for putting it into a building instead of our home. I mean, that seems like tedious work. The items that you have are worth a lot of money. They're sentimental beyond the monetary value. I mean, so how are you able to, when you're shifting and moving them, to be able to do that and keep them safe in the sense of not getting anything scratched or damaged or scuffed in any way?
Sure. And for full clarity, no, my wife would never allow them to be at home. Not enough space. We're in a very secure storage facility. But I got to give a huge shout out to our curator, Red Summer, because she's the one that actually curates all of the exhibits and all of the shadow boxes. And she's been the one that's been able to put these exhibits together and display them in a highly professional manner. She happens to also be a teacher at Duke Ellington School of Performing Arts.
Yes,
So
Duke Ellington. Yes. Oh,
special
wow.
focus here.
She's amazing.
She actually teaches the only course for museum curation in the entire country for high school students.
And
So
you happen to meet her and make this happen.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I didn't even know that there was a course like that. So a big shout out to her. You know, earlier you mentioned, Jeremy, you gave a shout out to Chucky Booker, Chucky Thomas,
Thompson.
and we actually interviewed him a couple of months ago, and we actually did a tribute when we learned about his untimely death, and the industry definitely felt hard hit by it. There's been a lot of loss in the industry, notables.
Yes.
Is there a place, you know, including Biz Markie, DMX? Is there a place in the museum where you have something about them?
yeah. Not only do we have shadow boxes and tributes to them in the museum, but I think more importantly, at this ceremony coming up on October 8th, Chucky Thompson's entire family will be on hand, children and wife, to receive his posthumous induction. And so we were lucky enough to induct my other friend, Biz Markie, in 2019 at our grand opening at the museum. And that became an incredibly special moment for him and his wife. His widow, Tara Hall, will actually be at the October 8th induction ceremony.
Wow.
And we will honor her and his memory and legacy
Yes, we will.
with some incredible pieces of art and some gifts.
Yes.
But we're also going to be posthumously inducting Heavy D, who
I loved him. Oh my goodness, I could sing all of his songs.
sure. And believe it or not, Pete Rock, who we're inducting, it was his cousin, is his cousin. And
Okay, didn't know that.
Grap Lova is Pete Rock's brother, and he also lives here locally in the DMV. So they will be receiving the award for Heavy D that night. So that's one of the ways that we're able to keep their legacy and their memory alive, is by honoring them and inducting them posthumously, or more specifically when they're with us. Shabba-Doo is another amazing dancer that we lost, and we inducted him at our grand opening here in Washington, D.C. And so those moments in time became incredibly special, because had we not taken the time to actually induct those artists at that time, we would have missed the opportunity completely.
I mean,
so we're
you
fortunate
mentioned
to have done
Chucky, you mentioned Heavy D, you mentioned Biz. When you think of those gentlemen, they were the sweetest, kindest people that you could meet. I just see a smile when you see them, and and honestly, I think Chucky, if you weren't in the industry, you may not have known how powerful that man was and how gifted he was.
Yes.
And he was so humble, and to hear people coming out after his passing and just the things that he did, I'm still hearing things that I had no idea that he touched and made it what it was.
Well, you find a lot of times that a person that is really true to the art form of what we do, their joy, their satisfaction is in the quality of what they produce. The glamour, the celebrity of it is not really the bonus. That's actually kind of like just a byproduct of what happens when you're successful, when you do this. But the real essence, the real greatness is the gift to be able to create. And that's what you see. And you find that happening many times in a lot of the people that we're talking about now.
So I'm going to have my producer, Norman, he's going to pull up an image, and I want you guys to tell me, I don't know if this is the museum or if this is the art gallery, and maybe you can tell me what we're looking at. And we're going to play a clip too. So what is this room?
Yeah, cool. That's actually where we're sitting right now.
Right.
So you're looking at the largest boombox in America. It's a 12-foot by 7-foot boombox that was made from recycled junk. Those speakers are pool noodles. The EQ is tissue boxes. There's like the cake topper is the volume knob, and this was all fabricated by our lead fabricator, DJ Devious, who will actually be making a cake into an MPC beat machine at our next induction. So he does all these crazy fabrications for the museum, and this is just one of the craziest ones that sits here. And this is at the House of Hip Hop. So if you get tickets and you come to the gallery, you will see the largest boombox in America.
Yes.
Okay, so what is this?
So you're looking at a lot of pieces from the hip hop shop. This is all pieces that can be purchased. I mean, except for the gold and platinum and diamond awards, that's part of the exhibit. But all the rest of it is the hip hop shop and pieces that can actually be purchased.
We're just going to give you some props so that you can make sure.
Show you some amazing pieces right now.
And I'm doing what they call an ad lib. Phil.
So
wait, now, Master, now listen, because we've got a widescreen of you.
Look at how cool this is. This is a real dollar bill.
What?
That was made into art, right? And so this
Okay.
$1 bill was artistically remixed in the same way
Oh my goodness, look at that.
that one was.
Isn't that cool?
So who's the artist and what's the estimated value?
This is a guy named Ab Till. He's actually a tattoo artist in England, but it's a perfect. I'm sorry. It's a perfect example of the love of hip hop. Okay, let me quote Grandmaster Cats. He says, "Hip hop didn't invent anything; it reinvented everything."
Yes.
And that dollar bill is like so hip hop, right?
Yes.
Because like we've all seen dollar bills, we all know Tupac or whatever. But to then take it to that level,
right,
gives it not only new meaning, it gives it new value, and it gives us a new perspective on currency and art. And I mean, hip hop is so cool, man, because anything can be hip hop. It's just a matter of how you do it.
It's all in how you do it. That's right.
Okay, so I gotta add. Oh, okay, wait. Here's another one. So what is this here? Is that
Ooh, okay? Well, let me tell you right now. You're looking at a few things.
okay?
Gold plaques on the wall. Rest in peace to Ms. Melody, the first wife of KRS-One, who was also a rapper in the group Boogie Down Productions. Those are KRS-One's plaques that were actually dedicated to her and given to her. They are both one of one anywhere else in the world, and they were both signed by KRS-One himself. The shirt on the green mannequin, I'm just going to let you know now, is Daz Effects' very first cannabis strain called Googly Goo. And since we're talking about it, I might as well tell you that on October 8th, Sugar Hill Delight will be released. It is the Sugar Hill Gang's very first strain.
What?
Yes. I am now officially also in the cannabis business. Yes.
Wait a minute. You're kidding me right now.
Oh,
Okay, so I have to ask you this. So what makes your cannabis different than the other ones?
Oh, I'm gonna answer
Yes.
that one.
Oh,
So
you're eager about that, Jeremy.
I'll tell you why I was eager about it, because I helped do what's called the strain hunting or the phenome hunting. So we have to find specific strains that would make sense to the demographic that would be familiar with the Sugar Hill Gang, right? So you have to be of a certain demographic, a certain age, to understand, who they are, their significance, why they're cool, and why they're awesome, right? And if you are in that specific demographic, okay, we have found a hybrid cannabis strain that will make you feel calm and relaxed and in the most perfect mood to experience the eighth wonder of the world.
That's right.
Wow.
Own it.
That is, I never thought of cannabis could be so manufactured in the sense of having a relationship with something like calming. I mean, I've heard it's calming, all of it, but for you to say that you found a strain to be able to do that too, that's interesting. And it's called what?
Sugar Hill Delight.
Hill Delight.
Sugar Hill Delight.
Okay. What is this? Shoes.
This is where Master G now shops. So this is
That's part of my shop. Yes.
Yeah. So we have sneakers and T-shirts and plaques, and oh my God, these are all the most amazing, perspectives of our hip hop shop and the House of Hip Hop. In the background, you can see Chris Lighty's, rest in peace, Chris Lighty, his own personal plaque, Violator plaque up on the wall there. Sir Mix-a-Lot, Baby's Got Back. If you scan the Wu-Tang Clan QR code, I can see that there's a Wu-Tang Clan plaque.
Yeah.
You will actually see me eating You will actually. I'm looking at the comments on the
Yeah.
screen.
I know. Yeah. Thanks, Sam.
Thanks. Shout out our amazing publicist,
Yes.
Micheline Bowman,
Yes, she is
who
wonderful.
has just now discovered that we're getting into the cannabis
Right.
Right.
industry. She's asking a great question. Let me tell everybody. Yes, it's a grand induction gala, but no, you don't have to wear tuxedos
No.
or ball gowns. We actually would prefer that everyone dresses in their best hip hop attire.
Love it.
So the more hip hop you dress, the more appropriate you'll be for the event. If you want to wear a tuxedo, we're not going to stop you,
Sure.
but I think you'll feel more comfortable in some shell toes and a track jacket.
Just understand my hip hop is Brioni. I'm just letting you understand that. Okay. Mezzalon shoes, Brioni. Okay.
Yeah, wood bottoms, baby.
Yeah. Okay.
And-
so
and since-
that's my hip hop. And don't be.
And since we're in the district, we're masking up, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Actually,
And
social,
I think it's man.
social distancing, COVID, regulations. Definitely going to, it's going to.
We're
be
at Ivy City Smokehouse, so it's really one of the greatest, best restaurants, yummiest restaurants in the whole
Everybody
city.
loves them.
If you love seafood and barbecue,
Yeah.
okay. So they have a whole set of protocols and amazing staff that is really going to welcome everyone
Yeah.
into the event. If you get a VIP ticket, you're actually going to get a free Courvoisier cocktail, and the
Okay.
menus will actually be on vinyl records. Okay,
Oh, wow,
so
look at
everyone will be able to get a vinyl record,
Pete
and the
Rock.
center label on the vinyl record will be the cocktail menu.
Kumo D. I have not seen. I'm sorry. I have not seen him in years. Great job, Norman. I didn't even know we had that one there. Kumo D. I just think it's really great. I just watched the versus battle between not Big Pun. I can't believe I can't think of his- Fat Joe and
Ja Rule.
Ja Rule. Can I just tell you, unbelievable. I looked at Ja Rule and I'm like, you didn't age. And what gym are you going to? Because clearly I am not on it. I mean, with it, I just didn't realize how many things Ja Rule had. And just to come out, I don't know, the nostalgia of just seeing people that were in my childhood and seeing them like Master G. I mean, I didn't grow up knowing about you because I wasn't in the States at that time. But when I told people who I was having on, they're like, you're kidding me. And I'm like, they started telling me stories about when they heard the album. And I'm like, okay, wait, just join the show and you can hear more. So
Right.
the excitement of being able to see someone that just brings back really positive energy and nostalgia. And I also love the fact that for a lot of people, it's re-energizing their career or starting it all over again. And who wouldn't want to be able to feel that love and compassion again?
No, let me say this, and this is one of the greatest gifts that I have to do what I do and be who I am, that I have had so many great experiences with meeting people and finding out how rejuvenating, how energizing, I've literally seen people, grown men, brought to tears.
Oh, that's a fact. I've seen
in actual
Wow.
for the connection
Yeah.
of being able to say, hey man, I really appreciate you got me through this. And Eighth Wonder was my record when I was going through changes.
Right.
My sister-in-law was just telling me a story about a woman who said that she was literally thinking about committing suicide, and Sugar Hill Music, every time she would think about it, the Sugar Hill Music was what stopped her. And she came to one of my concerts, and I actually took a picture and signed it with her. That is one of the greatest things that I get for doing this, to be able to do that, because the world, we need so much. We need way more love and good music. If the world had more love and good music, like the hip hop that goes on when we get down, things would be a whole lot better. Don't you agree?
Now, I'm and don't take that off the screen because I want to give Sonia a shout out. But what's really interesting that you would say that I didn't grow up in a household that listened to.
I did look at Shakespeare. I was very fond of Shakespeare and history in school. I was very cool into that, deep into that. Yes.
So Sonia, Lowry Young, what a great question. He said yes.
Yeah, it was very good, very good. She's picking up the that history, and I incorporate Greek mythology, Shakespeare, the English language. I incorporate that in my whole day-to-day lyrics, performances, everything.
You know, I think it's pretty amazing. Of course, my father listened to music, but we didn't have it like it wasn't a part of our everyday living. But I can tell you, there is something creative when I hear like an LL jingling baby. I literally remember what I was doing, so I can't imagine how it must feel that you created something. Just your experience, and then someone comes and tells you, you know, you helped me make it through a day when I wanted to I wanted to end things.
Yes.
And music is truly a powerful tool to do a lot of things.
And it grows and it gets stronger every day. It continues. I'm telling you, I am more in tune with who I am and the people that I rock for now than I was 40 years ago. And it's a direct result of the music.
And Jeremy, kudos to you and actually you too, Master G, for just putting this together, because you guys could have really individually won. Jeremy, you could just kept everything and showed it whenever you wanted to show it and tell people, but understanding the value and the history and the educational component behind it, so people can understand, you know, the music isn't just made. There's a story behind it. There's a reason. It's how it connects and how it connects all of us, no matter where you're from, no matter what nationality. And as you said, Master G, no matter what country you're from, right? It connects us. There's something about it that connects us. What's next, Jeremy, for you, whether it's the DC Hip Hop Museum? Is there anything else coming up outside of this October 8th huge induction?
Sure, absolutely. I didn't anticipate announcing this, but I guess
you're going to do it.
Yeah, these viewers are getting really something special.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple things coming up in 2022 that we just kind of inked, and I'm really excited about it. And I'm actually telling Master G now.
I was getting ready to say, I want to know too.
He's like, huh?
Yeah. So you know, now that like things are getting slightly better, with COVID and everything like that.
Yes.
But yet not quite great enough, I think, for giant concerts at stadiums just yet. We have just received word and notice that we are taking the entire pop-up experience for 90 days out to Little Rock, Arkansas, starting in April 2022. And it's going to culminate with an amazing, not just an exhibit at the Mosaic Templars Art Museum there in Little Rock, which is surrounded by many HBCUs, but it's going to culminate with a Juneteenth celebration.
Excellent.
That includes an induction ceremony and a performance.
Oh,
and so this is. And let me just quickly say, thank you, Ray Young.
Yeah, Ray Young.
We appreciate
we see that.
it.
We thank you. Yes.
Please come back to us.
Yes.
But let me just say, the last place in America that I think of when I think of hip hop is Little Rock, Arkansas. And let me just tell you, I know very, very little about Little Rock, Arkansas.
I've been there.
And well, you've been everywhere.
I said that's
God, that doesn't mean anything. So what? I've been there.
I have been there.
Yeah, this guy's literally been everywhere.
So, okay.
But I found out they got a vibrant scene. They got HBCUs. They got a whole incredible museum there.
Little Rock is popping. Shout out to Little Rock.
Shout out to Courtney Bradford at the Mosaic Templars gallery there, because you're clearly very hip and thought to bring us. So that's going to be amazing. But we're also going to be very heavily involved in Sotheby's next hip hop auction. I can't say too much about that.
Okay.
But it's we were heavily involved in the first one. This next one's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for that, probably in March of 2022. And in between there, we will somehow fit this Grandmaster Flash and someone induction ceremony in between that space.
Yes. So that's what we're doing with the museum.
So that's what's going on.
Yes.
Wow. That is a lot of good news. And you heard it first here on NNPA and Black Press USA. If you're just tuning in, this is a great show. My guest, Jeremy Beaver, he is the founder of DC's Hip Hop Museum. And of course, we know who Master G is. That's right. He is the founder and multi-platinum recording artist from the Sugar Hill Gang.
And
the two are a dynamic duo.
And the executive director
that
of the museum. I need
That's
that.
right.
I'm
can't
very
leave that
proud
out.
of
The executive
I'm very
director.
proud of that.
Yeah, and I have to take a second too. I want to thank Micheline Bowman for
Yes.
making this interview happen. She has been really, really, she's a wonderful
She is
friend.
the best publicist in Washington.
She really is amazing.
You are doing an event or you have come out with the new lemonade, you need to hit up Micheline Bowman, the best publicist in the DMV.
Micheline is amazing, and she is a really caring and a very connected person. I've known her for a number of years in this. There you go. Get your ticket. Look, there you go.
Look at always on the
Perfect
job.
timing.
Right on.
I am really excited. I am looking forward to getting a chance to coming down and to see the museum. And I'm looking forward to talking to you guys more about the October 8th induction. Hey, Micheline. Oh, the best. Okay. Micheline, they all know you. And so
Everyone
we're really
knows.
excited. Listen, guys,
Everyone
if somebody
knows.
wants to do a pop-up in their city or at their school,
Oh, okay, good
just
point.
reach out to you. What do they
I'm
do?
so busy within my brain, I didn't even think about that. But yeah, like if you're in Philadelphia, if you're in Newark, if you're in Detroit, if you're in LA, wherever you are, we can come to your city.
We will come to your city.
Just hit us up through the website, which is hiphopmuseumdc.org, and you can contact the entire museum or any of us through the website.
Put us in touch with your leaders.
I love that. You know what, you guys, I can see you guys doing something on television.
Oh,
so
definitely.
I'm just going to claim that for you guys.
yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
I can just see that the relationship and you guys' genuine love for each other and the industry is just, it's really great to see. It puts a big smile on my face.
Thank you.
Thank you, Taylor. We appreciate it.
I'm really excited. You guys were great about turning around and giving us this information. And I really do look forward to coming out and seeing what you're doing. And I'm excited about the educational component, because that's a big thing to me of, you know, if you're enjoying something, you really should know the background and the history of it. So when you have a conversation with someone, you can talk intelligently about it and explain why you are and, you know, liking what you like and what's going on. So I'm excited, and I cannot thank you guys enough for joining me today and tonight here in Washington, D.C. And I know this won't be the last time we have a conversation. I think it's going to be great to do something live on October the 8th to see those amazing.
Look forward to seeing you live on the 8th.
Wow, I appreciate it. Well, gentlemen, that's going to do it for today's edition of Fire here on NNPA and Black Press USA. Sorry, Jeremy Beaver, founder of the DC Hip Hop Museum, and of course, Master G, multi-platinum recording artist and director of the DC Hip Hop Museum, and also of, you know him from the Sugar Hill Gang. Gentlemen, thank you so very much. I look forward to connecting with you. And again, that'll do it for today's show. God bless and goodbye.
Thank you so much.
Peace, y'all.
Take care.
Yeah.